Hello, everyone. Welcome to what are we in now? We're actually in week 12, but we have module 11 going on right now. And this week we are studying our fifth of 8 diversity issues. So this week we're dealing with age and its relationship to design. So the relationship between design and age can be viewed in many, many ways, and we're going to be looking at a few of them this week. We can look at the ways that our experiences change our perceptions of the designed environment. So in that case, what am I talking about? As we experience things, our perceptions of them change. So there's kind of a process of evolution that happens. And, one might even call that an aging process. We might think about how another way of putting it might be how those environments age in our own minds. So that's one way of thinking about this. The other is that we can look at the ways that specific environments actually change the ways that we age, and many do. Or we can think about the changes that result from the aging of the world itself. So when you think about how our Earth is aging and what's happening there, how does that affect the way that we're aging? And then, of course, the more generic notion is that we consider what the ways that we as humans age. But let's not forget all of those other things, the Earth aging, our experiences aging, our perception, and then us aging as humans. And you can tell by the way that I'm setting this up that aging is both a reality and a concept. So yes, we're born, we age, we die. Isn't that exciting and positive? But nonetheless, how we think and act about aging has varied dramatically throughout time, culture, and geographic location. So many historians, for example, have argued that up to the modern period, the current idea of childhood just simply did not exist. This view holds that sometime between 1600 and the 20th century, the idea of childhood was invented, and what we now think of as childhood would not have made any sense to our ancestors. So if any of you have taken art history classes, or if you look at paintings from the Italian Renaissance, you might notice how the children appear to be these little adults. And that kind of depiction of the child is a sign of the ways that they might have been viewed. Likewise, ideas about what defines a person as old have dramatically changed across cultures and time. So some cultures revere their elderly as sages, the wise ones, and others consider older people to be burdens on society. We tend to, in this country, fall into the latter rather than the former, but hopefully, as I age, that's changing. And then the other issue is that life expectancy rates have dramatically increased. So, for example, when Social Security was implemented in the middle of the 20th century, the life expectancy for a male living in the US was 65, the retirement age. Surprise, surprise. Today, the life expectancy of a male living in the US is 78.5. So then when you're thinking about Social Security and government pensions, et cetera, think about the implications of that. They're very big. And then we wonder why our Social Security system is in trouble. So what other aspects of 21st century living have altered our perceptions of the very young and the very old? That's part of what we're going to take on this week. But what we're thinking about this week is really quite varied. And we're going to be looking at these multiple understandings of age, especially as they're affected by design. So we're going to start out with a lovely chapter on childhood and design from New York's Museum of Modern Art's exhibit that's titled "The Century of the Child, Growing by Design." And the century of the child is the 20th century. And this chapter illustrates how design has affected the physical, emotional, and intellectual development of children. And conversely, how some of the things that we design for children have inspired some experimental design. So, for example, toys like the Rubik's Cube and the Hoverman Sphere have served as the basis for other more kind of serious-minded projects. The Rubik's Cube spawned a sophisticated series of locking devices. The Hoverman Sphere was used to develop a new structural system for a retractable roof. So these kinds of things that are niche products then oftentimes have other kinds of applications. And that's the first thing. We're going to look at kids and concept of children in the 20th century, the products that were designed for children, and what the consequences of all of those things are. The next article that we have is from IDEO, one of the two most well-known industrial design firms in the world. The other one is Frog. No, pardon me, I have to back up. Frog Design is where this article comes from, not IDEO. That's later. So we have an article on children who are really the designers. They're co-designing solutions for our polluted waters. And so you'll see all sorts of kid teams who are acting as design firms. And it's really amazing to see all the things they come up with. They're really quite innovative. Maybe they haven't had that creativity sucked out of them at that point in time. So they have all sorts of wonderful ideas. Then we're going to shift. So the first two are about kids, and then we're going to be moving into older age. So the first article about that is on the history of old age in America. And again, this is about how our concepts of what is old or older or elderly, how that's changed over time. And then we'll watch a video and we'll read an article about designing for older people. So you might see, I don't know how much you can see in the video, but I've added a few props to our video this week to reinforce some of the arguments that both Donald Norman in his article and Jeremy Meyerson in his video are making. And so, for example, you can't see it, but I'm sitting in a wheelchair. Here we have this lovely walker. We have another lovely treadmill. We've got this beautifully designed, so attractive walking cane. And when you start to look at these products, they're pretty banal and ho-hum. That's all I have to say about it. And it's just sad that these are the arguments that Norman and Meyerson are making. It's just sad that these elements that are part of the products of the older adult are just so, there's no design sensibility that has been applied to them. They're just, so basic. So unless you're a real minimalist, I think that it'd be nice if we paid a little bit more attention to that. And then finally, we're going to be moving on to a video that takes us far away from our current understanding of humans and introduces us to the concepts of aging and existence at a much larger scale of time and space. So this is more of a speculative piece about the future of humans, the future of our planet, how our planet and we will be evolving, and what that means in the scope of the universe. And so I think that this is an important time to think about aging at many different scales. But then we come back down to earth and we take our quiz and we do our weekly critical thinking question in the discussion group. So this week's discussion is going to put you into the role of a designer, and it's going to ask you to help to solve a real world current problem. Actually, two of them. So I hope you enjoy that. I enjoy thinking about it myself. So hopefully some of that will rub off onto you. Okay, so then in your travels this week, pay special attention to products and environments that have been developed for people who are of a certain age. So the issues there, so you're going to notice a lot of them once you start looking. Are these products and environments stereotyped in any way? I might even ask, when they're designed for a niche group or people of a certain age, maybe little kids, older adults, etc., are they empowering or disempowering for that group and other groups? Do they exclude any groups in any way? I think you're going to be surprised at how age segregated our worlds really are when you start looking really closely at them. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you get a lot out of this. Stay safe, stay creative, and stay kind. Bye, everyone, and have a good week.